Diane, imagine spending 40 years on a road trip where every single wrong turn and family argument gets documented in excruciating detail. That's essentially what we find in the book of Numbers, and it might just be the most relatable ancient text ever written.
That's such an interesting way to frame it, Pappy. The sheer scale of this journey is mind boggling. We're talking about managing roughly 2 million people in the desert.
And what's fascinating is how organized it starts. The first few chapters read like a military strategist's dream. They're counting every able bodied man over 20, arranging 12 tribes in this precise formation around this sacred tent. It's basically ancient logistics at its finest.
Hmm. But then things start going sideways pretty quickly, don't they? These people had just witnessed incredible miracles, yet within days they're complaining about, well, everything.
Oh man, Ian, the complaints are endless. And here's what's wild: archaeologists have actually found ancient Middle Eastern texts with similar complaint lists from other groups traveling through that region. The heat, the food, the leadership. It's like reading ancient Yelp reviews of the desert.
Well, Pappy, that's fascinating. So, what happens when they finally get their first look at their destination?
So, this is where it gets exciting. They send these 12 spies to check out Canaan, and they come back with these massive grape clusters. Like we're talking about a fruit so big, it takes two men to carry it on a pole between them.
That must have been quite a sight. But then 10 of these spies essentially tank the whole operation with their report, right?
Exactly. They're like, yeah, the land is amazing, but, and that but leads to 40 years of wandering. You know what's interesting? Historians estimate that the actual distance from Egypt to Canaan could have been covered in about 2 weeks.
2 weeks? That really puts the 40 years into perspective. And during this time, we get some pretty dramatic stories like that whole incident with Balaam.
Oh man, the talking donkey story. You know what's fascinating? Ancient Near Eastern texts actually show that professional curse speakers like Balaam were a real thing. They were like ancient consultants who would be hired to pronounce blessings or curses.
That adds such interesting context to the story. And speaking of historical context, what about those inheritance laws for women that were mentioned?
Right? The case of Zelophehad's daughters was groundbreaking for its time. We're talking about a legal precedent being set in approximately 1400 BCE that acknowledged women's right to inherit property. Legal scholars have pointed to this as one of the earliest recorded cases of women's property rights.
The book seems to be full of these surprisingly progressive moments mixed in with all the drama and supernatural events.
And you know what's really interesting? The whole organization of the camps around the tabernacle. Archaeologists have found that this circular formation was actually a brilliant defensive strategy for desert dwelling peoples.
So they were combining practical military tactics with religious significance. That's pretty sophisticated for a group of former slaves.
Exactly. And by the end of the book, we're looking at a completely different generation. The census numbers show that despite all the hardships and judgments, the population remained stable at around 600,000 fighting men.
That's remarkable considering everything they went through. What do you think is the biggest takeaway from all this?
Well, here's what fascinates me: numbers show us that progress isn't always linear. Sometimes it takes a generation of wandering, making mistakes, and learning hard lessons before we're ready to move forward. It's like watching humanity's growing pains played out on an epic scale.
That's such a powerful observation, Pappy. I know you didn't think of that by yourself, and it seems particularly relevant today when we're all trying to navigate our own kinds of wilderness.
Precisely, Ian, whether it's personal growth, societal change, or organizational development. Sometimes the longest way around turns out to be the only way forward. And occasionally you might need a talking donkey to point out when you're heading in the wrong direction.